So the building that we're in was kind of opened in 1936. Its foundation stone was put in 1932. This is the second building on the site. I suppose the first building on this site appeared in the early 1890s. This building was unfortunately, I suppose, involved in the burning of Cork, where the Black and Tans, in retaliation against an IRA attack in Dillon's Cross on the 11th and 12th of December 1920, the Black and Tans actually came in and actually burnt out this kind of particular building. So in 1932, Eamon de Valera came to town and he laid the foundation stone on the site of the old kind of city hall. Around the corner of this building, and the foundation stone is still there. You can read the inscription. The building should remember in some way the legacy of two martyred Lord Mayors of Cork. One gentleman called Tomás McCurtain and the second kind of Terence McSweeney. Now, Tomás McCurtain, he was shot in his bed in March 1920 for his involvement in the Irish War of Independence in the Cork area. Terence McSweeney subsequently was elected and went on a hunger strike for 74 days in Brixton Prison, and he passed away. Now, the thing about Tomás McCurtain and Terence McSweeney is that they're remembered in a number of statues, stroke busts, actually within this particular building, and there are paintings as well. So, and during the speeches in 1932 at the laying of the foundation stone, Eamon de Valera made reference to Tomás McCurtain and Terence McSweeney that this kind of building was dedicated to them. So just that's important to point that out. And then there was a third Lord Mayor called Donald O'Callaghan that actually was elected. But in City Hall, there are also several kind of memorials to John F. Kennedy. So between Tomás McCurtain, Terence McSweeney and John F. Kennedy, those are the three people that are actually really kind of remembered in this building.
We got the concerts there, the most obvious one that I can remember would be Tin Lizzy back in the early 80s, you know. So yeah, we went to concerts and we went to different dances and stuff like that, you know, and the school discos and things were held down there as they still are today. So yeah, we had those experiences as well. Like, you know, I can remember one time we were at a civic reception for the team we were playing with in the Bears. We won an All-Ireland competition, so we were down there for that. And a couple of us wandered off and we kind of got locked into a corridor. We were shouting out the window to get us out, like, you know. So that was probably one incident that just came to mind as you mentioned the City Hall there now again. Like, you know.
Cork City Hall, the building that's there now, dates from I think the early 1930s. Originally on that site there were two separate buildings before the burning during the War of Independence. I think one of them was the Carnegie Library and the other building was the City Hall. My memories of the City Hall have to be the concert hall. For a few years, and it was almost like a family occasion, we went around Christmas time to Rory Gallagher. And it wasn't until years later that I went to any other concert there really, and we went as my older sisters would have come with me as well. It was a real family thing, and I did manage to sneak a tape recorder in there once. Now the quality wasn't good, but at the time I was going to school in Dublin and I was a hero to bring back some live Rory Gallagher.
A million miles away from you, right at the back of the hall, my heart was beating the drums of my hands, the knot in my veins unwinding between your thumb and my beaten brain, and not a single note in my head, only the grace notes you picked from tangled strings. Did you really not hear the tide coming in behind you? The waves of pounding feet that rocked the City Hall floor until it rolled like the deck of a ship that will never fill the emptiness you left behind you on stage. Rory, Rory, Rory. Now, can you hear us pray?
the Imperial Hotel, or the commercial buildings as it was known originally. It was a prime example of that. Is still even today, it's probably one of the most important buildings on the South Mall. And when he designed it in when was it, 1811 initially, I think it opened in 1813. It was kind of the first major building really on the Mall at that time, you know. What we know as the entrance today to the Imperial Hotel on the South Mall was the commercial rooms, or the commercial building. Actually, the hotel itself was built at the rear of the building. The entrance was on Pembroke Street. The restaurant is there now today, the entrance, but that would have been the entrance to the hotel. And that didn't open until about maybe 5 years, I think, after 5 years after the commercial buildings itself. So it was part of the commercial buildings. The main entrance was on Pembroke Street, but you could also go through the South Mall entrance through the commercial rooms into it. And actually, when you go into the South Mall today, you'll see there's a plaque, circular plaque on the floor, mosaic, kind of plaque with a Cork coat of arms, and it has the commercial buildings written around it, you know. I think it was into the 1940s. By the time the commercial buildings actually moved out to the front, so it was that long before the hotel took over actually the front part of the South Mall of that building there, you know. I mean, think of it too, I suppose, if you think of where the staircase is today, with a kind of a grand formal little staircase, it's facing sideways, like, which doesn't kind of fit really. Normally you go to a hotel and you've kind of you see the kind of the staircase in front of you. Well, it would have been in front of you when you came in from where the entrance was originally, from the Pembroke Street side. So that was just the layout of it at the time, you know. So as I said, it wasn't really then until the commercial, the Committee of Merchants, as they were known, kind of packed in, they were running the likes of the butter trade and all the rest there in Cork for decades from the 19th and into the 20th century. And it was into the 1940s then, and that when they stopped, and the hotel itself took over the front part. And one of the interesting things is the main room of the commercial room was a very high ceiling. It was about 30 feet high. There are photographs of it, you would see it as a magnificent room. But what the hotel did then was they divided it horizontally. So they put an extra floor on above, so there's a ceiling at maybe 12 feet or 14, 15 feet, and then another room then above that again, another big room above it. So they divided it to make more rooms in the place itself, you know. So they put an extra window then as well in the front. The older views, the older sketches and stuff, or even the older photographs pre-1940s would have just a single large window in the centre. Whereas today you see there's between the pilasters there's one big window and a smaller window above it. But the smaller window was just from when they created the extra rooms inside there, you know. The South Mall, of course, was a river at the time, or one of the channels in the city, which was only began to be developed at the start of the 19th century. Then, from around 1800 on, you were walking up through the Grand Parade, let's say, in the 1780s, 1790s, and then they started coming down the South Mall around the 1800s. And the first part to get kind of culverted over to become a road was the bit between Grand Parade and Parliament Street. So from the first 2 or 3 years of the 19th century, that was done, and then gradually afterwards the rest of the river got culverted and it became a proper street. But that's why you have those houses, those particularly the ones next to the Imperial, have the steps going up to them, and there's a number of buildings around the city. You'd think of the Le Chateau in Patrick Street would be the same kind of thing, you know. People were unloading goods and stuff, so they didn't want to be having the entrance right at the quayside itself, so they had the entrance up the steps, and then below it you had a kind of an archway which was used either as a boathouse or a storage area.
It's an Orthodox synagogue, and they have very strict rules about how many people they need to be there, how many men they need to be there to run a service. And the community has dwindled so much in recent years that they can't get together enough people. So they used to always open it for Rosh Hashanah, which is New Year, and then Yom Kippur, which is like 10 days later, which is the Day of Atonement, which is the holiest day of the year. And I used to go, but now the community is so small that they don't open it. They can't even open it for Rosh Hashanah, so it's not open. And then they open it for Yom Kippur, but they bring in boys from either London or Manchester, Jewish lads, to make up what they call a minyan. They need enough men to run the service. And because they're very traditional, they make the women sit upstairs, which I really object to. So I gave up going when they moved to have these boys come to do the service. I didn't feel particularly welcome. I feel very sad about that, actually. I just feel I was in touch with the tradition. So that's kind of sad, because that's gone. There are fewer than 15 families now. I suppose there's a hard core of people who go, but increasingly now, some families who have children living abroad, like in England or in Manchester and places like that, they'd go to their own kids for the holidays, because so they could actually observe them with a larger group of people, which I can understand. So it's sad. I think the synagogue on South Terrace is sad. Gerald Goldberg was fantastic in the community. A couple times we did things with just Gerald running the service, or Freddie Rosehill, who is the president of the community, who's brilliant, running things ourselves. And then we would all sit downstairs, and we did do a few things like that, and that felt good.